Hey guys, this is Mark with ASDRelationshipSolutions.com, and today we're going to look at the 9 executive function deficits that cause a problem in the neurodiverse marriage. Now, your ASD spouse will not have all of these, but he or she will have more than one. So let's get started. Number 1, the abstract thinking deficit. Now, this is being able to understand non-literal language, for example, sarcasm, jokes, and metaphors, and nonverbal communication, for example, the way we get our message across apart from the words we use, tone of voice, body language, facial gestures, and so on. Now, how might the NT wife view this abstract thinking deficit? That he doesn't understand my feelings, doesn't understand my thoughts, doesn't understand what I'm trying to get across, he never gets my message, he simply does not get it. Number 2, the emotional control deficit. Now, this is the ability to control escalating emotions in order to complete a task and keep emotions to a level that's appropriate. Now, how might the NT spouse view emotional control deficits? He's always angry, he's always out of control, he's always upset. He downloads even my neutral comments as criticism. Number 3, inhibition deficit. This is the ability to contain the desire to do something in order to stay on task until it's finished. For example, staying focused long enough to complete a task, thinking through problem solving, staying on a topic, and avoiding going off on tangents when telling a story. Now, how might the NT wife view an inhibition deficit? That unless it's a task that falls into his special interest area, he has a hard time getting started on it and completing it. So the things that I want him to do is not important. Number 4, the initiating executive function deficit. This is similar to the inhibition one. Initiating is getting started on a task, knowing where to start and what to do next, writing tasks, and so on. So if your ASD spouse has a hard time getting started on tasks that fall outside of his special interest, we might say he has an initiating executive function deficit. Number 5, the multitasking deficit. This is the ability to carry out more than one cognitive process at a time. For example, being able to talk and write at the same time, or being able to perform one task while simultaneously doing a separate task. NT wives out there are very good at multitasking, and when she sees that her ASD spouse cannot multitask, she may assume that he's dropping the ball for some reason other than the fact that he has an executive function deficit. Number 6, the planning and organizing executive function deficit. Now, this is the ability to plan and organize time, information, and procedures efficiently. For example, carrying out instructions accurately, completing tasks on time and correctly, and so on. Now, the ASD spouse is a visual learner in a verbal world. And so when the NT spouse offers verbal instruction or information and the ASD spouse does not get it, she assumes that he didn't get it because it wasn't important to him. Number 7, self-monitoring deficit. This is being mindful, recognizing when a change is needed, and noticing when an error occurs. For example, staying on topic when talking, noticing changes of topics in groups, answering questions accurately, noticing when you have made a mistake, being relatively accurate in your judgment of your own and others' behavior. Now, the ASD spouse has this thing called mind blindness, which makes it very difficult for him to understand where he's making mistakes. It also makes it very difficult for him to not view his NT wife as the one who's made the mistake and is wrong. Number 8, shifting focus deficit. This is the ability to shift attention if something changes. For example, being able to change how something is being done when asked, being able to see multiple possible solutions to a problem. How might the NT spouse view a shifting focus deficit? He's always self-absorbed over there, hyper-focused on his special interests, and I can never get him to stop doing his special thing and tend to other things that I view are equally as important. And lastly, number 9, the working memory deficit. This is the ability to hold on to information in order to process it. For example, being able to identify the main point, take all information into account, tell a cohesive story in a logical sequence, reading comprehension, following instructions, and so on. Now, how might the NT wife view a working memory deficit? The things that I want him to do, he can never remember. So the things that I need done are not important to him. So there's the 9 executive function deficits that cause a problem in the neurodiverse marriage. If you're struggling in your neurodiverse marriage, head on over to ASDRelationshipSolutions.com, and I'll see you over on the other side.